I need to call the public hearings, is that where I'm at?
Yeah.
Okay, call the public hearing, land sale lot 3, block 1, Riverview Heights subdivision number 2. Anybody here?
We'll leave that open and go in the workshop.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave that open and we'll go to the workshop.
Nice.
So we'll start with the fire department.
Yeah, side by side.
The side by side, and Ryan is here, and so is Mr. John.
And Travis too from Relief.
And Travis.
We're here, you know, it shouldn't be too big of a surprise because every time we've talked about the raffle for the last few years, we've talked about that it's kind of earmarked for a purchase of a side-by-side, was how we originally started that. No budget monies will be used for this purchase. You know, it doesn't come out of my equipment budget that was set forth by you guys. It will come out of the relief department, which we do through fundraisers, a raffle particularly been earmarked for this. And it will come out of the equipment fund, which is like when we do grass burns or that, or you have fire calls, that money goes into that separate account. Of course, the city does have a responsibility here because if you guys will take it on as an asset and insure it. You know, but it's a gift to the city essentially for fire department use. The purpose of it is everything from handing out popsicles, I guess, at the Park Days Parade. But the real thing to it is, you know, when we do these wildland fires, these planned fires, you know, we had a situation last year. I'm proud to say I wasn't at, but we did have a situation last year where fire got out of our control. Had we had this piece, I think that it could have definitely helped. Especially since, John, we're looking at getting a skid for it, so it'll have water support on it. When we do wildland fires now, we essentially have whoever has four-wheelers brings them in, you know, and that's kind of a liability to the city because what happens if one gets damaged, that would be kind of a sticky issue. Personal use stuff being used for that. But the biggest savings really is going to be is, and what really got us started on is, I don't know if you guys remember a few years back, 3 years back, the sewer had that train derailment. And it was in an area that was really unreachable by most things, and it took almost a day and a half just to get equipment back there because they had to essentially build a road. But had there been a, you know, a person injured or had there had to be some level of assessment of that, we'd be able to get to that. I'm trying to think of a department in our area that doesn't have a side-by-side. Maybe Hanska doesn't. I know Lake Crystal does. St. James does. You know, so it's a common piece. It's not a unique piece that Madelia is looking at adding. But the big win for the city is it doesn't cost us anything other than the continued insurance. So John has gotten a couple quotes. He did try to get a third quote, but was unable to get one. As you guys know, they're hard to come by. It's not like people are having a hard time selling these things. They're not eager for business. But I think we got a great quote from Miller Sellner. That seems to be the one that did the better bid. But we also did Mankato Motorsports now, because that's who we do our raffle through. But Miller did a little better job. And then we would purchase a trailer, and like I said, that skid pack, that would be removable for wildland fires. But I guess we're here for your blessing. But this is something that's been planned for a while.
So in your packet currently, I just want to go over what's in your packet for the breakdown. I have the Fire Department and Relief Association have been saving up for a side-by-side. The side-by-side will be purchased with $10,000. It needs to be changed to $15,000 from the Relief Association and $15,000 from the Fire Department Equipment Fund. As you see in the attached quotes, the side-by-side will be about $20,000, but the extra $10,000 will then be for the skid pack and the trailer.
Correct.
Ryan, was this vehicle available through state bid or not?
They got government pricing.
Yeah.
Well, that was government pricing? Okay.
Yeah, John did a real good job getting these quotes.
So that's already on our agenda item as number 1.
It is. So what happens, just so that you guys are understand, what the Relief Association cuts the city a check for $15,000, and $15,000 is taken out of the Fire Department Equipment Fund. The city then turns around and purchases it through us, and it becomes an asset to us, and so it's our property.
But let me be real clear, when we say equipment fund, we're not talking what we're saving for that pumper. I mean, we're not digging into money that we're earmarking for that pumper, so that's not it. This is not a budget item
Yeah, I don't
necessarily.
know what else to call it.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
always
what it
been
is.
called
It's
in-
really the Rural Fire Association Fund is what it
Yes,
technically
and that's
is.
where all your calls,
Right.
all the revenue from all your calls come into, it goes in there. But we have used it for equipment in the past
Yeah.
also.
Yep, this is just like, if you remember correctly, the relief fund purchased that trailer, that we have the livestock confinement. You know, when we do these fundraisers, you know, we not only do it for buying an occasional case of beer, but we also do it to buy really important stuff. And then a lot of our money is gonna be used for, I saw that, Glenn, but it's true. But, the relief is also
That's
to
on
buy-
camera, I just want you to know that.
Gonna be buying in whole the outfitting of that kitchen in the fire hall. So we've accounted for that, but we thought we're at that point now where we can do this, because we'll be buying that equipment, and again, no cost to the city, so there's definitely real benefits to that general fund as opposed
But to be clear, Chief, if I understand what you're saying, is basically the city's not paying for it, the city just will continue to insure it and maintain it.
We have to do the approval to bring it on as an asset to the city
Right.
to insure it, yes.
I would argue that's a key point for consideration. I mean, the fact of the matter is,
And we're gonna promote that, just so you know, because as you know, there's probably a little hard feeling in, right now with, everyone seeing their value go up in their property, and you guys are keenly aware of that. And so we'll do, once we bring this on, hopefully Amelia Paper will help with it, but so the residents here can see the benefit of them supporting our pork chop dinner, supporting our pancake, but that it did come from, their donations, so.
So on April 18th, the fire department met in, all decided that this was the right thing to do, so you all agree, is that correct?
Yeah, it was, we brought it up first to the leadership, both relief and the fire department, then we brought it to the general, thing. You know, and we talked about a lot, there was a couple concerns that came up, but we worked through them, and it was just, more of the concern was purchasing the kitchen equipment coming up, because that's also a big thing. But, there's, you know, in the relief general fund, you know, there's close to $90,000 sitting there. And that's not money that gets used for our pension, so that's not, you know, that's our general, that's our non-restricted fund. So, we feel very good about this purchase. And as well as having a current raffle going on, at a very good pork chop dinner, so.
So you got raffle tickets for sale?
I can come busy, I don't have them on me.
Okay.
I didn't know if that'd be appropriate to solicit while I'm here. Soliciting. We do have the media here, you know?
Nobody's asked me yet, but anyhow.
Well, guess what, you're gonna be asked 20 times now.
But yeah, you know, and when they were talking about the audit, this is the legal way to do it and keeps the auditor happy at the end of the year. And the lawyers on the liability side.
2 thumbs up from the lawyer, so we're good.
Anything else for the fire department?
No, but I guess the only question I'd have procedurally is, do we do this again then with the kitchen equipment?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably,
Okay.
anything that's going to be an asset of the city.
So once we get a dollar value there, we'll bring it back, okay.
Yep.
But I would assume we have the support of the council to go ahead and plan that, right? I mean, we shouldn't hold back, it'd be more of a formality.
It's formality to me at this time,
I can cover that.
Okay. Just so we know what we're,
as long as we're not cutting the new building up to make it work.
no, and in fact, a couple of the people actually installed some of the lines themselves, to save, so it wouldn't be part of the building thing, so.
I think a lot of, and the council should be aware of this, there has been a couple employees out there doing work to save money, so we do really have to give a kudos to everybody that's been involved.
I would say more than a couple. There's been at least a handful doing their own fiber wiring, and I can speak to that from Christensen Communications. So
Yep.
that's impressive.
And yeah, plumbing lines they dug in too. Yep. So the city should know that, the community should understand that we're trying to save as much as we possibly can on this building. But we're also,
We
yeah.
also have people that are giving their off-duty time to put some things in, which should be noted.
Yes.
Chief Pressure, I'm talking to you.
Okay. If there's nothing else for the fire department, then Let's move on to the park project FEMA funds.
So, as we were discussing last meeting, we were discussing a couple different projects. In that time from last meeting, Andy and I had a conference call with one of the vendors for, a restroom. But we're trying to get all of the quotes, and I think Andy can help me out with more detail on the two projects that we've been looking at.
Yeah, so, in talking with, both Green Flush and publicrestrooms.com company or whatever, it seems like the 140 is kinda right at the bottom end of a roll-off, fully functioning 2-unit toilet type deal. It doesn't mean it can't happen, but it means that it's gonna be kind of a bare bones unit more sound. So this Green Flush company had a little different take on the situation. They have vaulted basements, they have, basically the foundation attached. So they can do a lot more things, but they also didn't necessarily recommend, putting anything in the floodway or in the, in the actual flood plain area, without doing some things differently. Maybe making them, poured concrete or at least, block, and that kinda has a tendency to drive up the cost. So I guess what me and Chris are kinda looking for is just what everybody's opinion is moving forward. I mean, we can definitely pursue bathrooms. I think it's gonna be important to get more bathrooms down in the park, or we can, go to this tension fabric building, which will act as more of an event center at the golf course and replace the existing tent. That project, that building is 85 to 95,000 for the building itself, and then we would have enough money to do a concrete floor and probably all the electrical down there for that price point. The other option me and Chris talked about is, if the FEMA funding has to be spent in this before September 5th, we could do, a couple more park picnic shade structures down at the park. By the time you had concrete and the shade structures, I don't know if you'd get more than one, maybe two, for the 40,000 and then carry the 100 forward. I just don't think that the 100 moving forward, I mean, you're gonna have to set aside probably another 100 next year or whenever you're planning on actually doing the bathrooms.
So, from my perspective, to use a quote from my dad, it seems like somewhat of a no-brainer to me. The fabric building you're talking about, especially if you put the concrete in there, is gonna be a revenue-generating enterprise. The bathrooms will not.
Yeah.
And so we do this, and then we have other options going forward, especially as we sort through the whole floodplain study of what needs to go where. So to me, this seems pretty clear-cut.
Yeah, and that's kind of the other component of it is the floodplain studies, so not knowing exactly what we're gonna have for options in the next 5-10 years as far as what we're gonna be able to really do and insure down there in the park. The one thing with the tension fabric building, and I had conversation with the builder, he said that they can send the crew back down, take it down, move it to someplace else if they have to, and it's still, the asset is still there. He didn't give me an exact cost of relocation, but he said it's doable. And he said that there's a lot of cities and companies that are actually selling them secondhand too, so if it was something that we wanted to sell down the road, they can take it down and we could sell it on min bid or through a retailer or reseller down the road too. So there's some other options there where it wouldn't be necessarily a asset that, even if it didn't work out to 100% its expectation at the golf course, it's not like it's gonna be something that's gonna be not valuable at some point down the road either.
But the other problem it helps us solve is the community center issue that a number of
Yeah.
people talked about. Now, it may be temporary because of the fabric.
Right.
But that helps us solve that problem as well. And if it's sited well and put in the right place, we can do the best we can to mitigate the floodplain issue.
Yes. I think the other component of it is, and Chris can maybe speak to it, I don't know how many man hours go into setting up the event tent. And we've probably set that up.
It's a
Nelson?
tent.
As I'm looking at these three over here, I think we all know that it's quite a process.
Well, but
And
more than
then-
that, and I understand that a lot of effort goes into that, but you said tent.
Yeah.
This is a facility, and to me, those are different things too, I would argue.
I think the project could come in with a solid floor, either asphalt or concrete, you know, fully constructed and wired with lighting and, you know, receptacles for that 140. I just don't know if we're gonna be able to get anything more than maybe a single unisex bathroom for 140 on the other end. Unless we send it out to have somebody actually engineer a plan for it and have it constructed locally. But by the time you have the engineering and the ADA compliance and everything done in the plans, you're probably talking a budget of 120 to have it built after the engineering and.
Well, plus it'd have to go to the, state then to get, plumbing permitted after the
And you're
engineers.
probably gonna be low, you know.
You wouldn't get
depending
it
on
done
the-
before September.
You're gonna, well, and that's the other thing on the bathroom facilities. He said even if you ordered them and paid for them today, you're not gonna get them until next year.
Right.
So, but the other thing is because of the flooding and because of the ADA compliance and because of, if they do have facility, you know, actual in-ground utilities, it's probably gonna have to be out of the floodplain completely. So that limits you to buy the courtesy station at that type of elevation, or maybe way up on the backside of the
New campground.
campground expansion. And I don't know, you know, if those are all full hookups, I don't know how much it gets used there compared to if you can put something in the floodplain down the road. So that's our thoughts moving forward. Or at least in the internal discussions we've had. But I need to know which project we would like to pursue as a group, or if we wanna pursue, you know, picnic shade structures or whatever, just so that.
Can we make this an agenda item? Do we have to, cause I really think we need to execute, we need to move out.
Well, I mean, I
But I
can-
think to me, there's a very clear road ahead here.
Depending on how everybody feels about it, I can pursue either. We don't have to make a decision today, and I can get a lot firmer plans. The other thing with the tension fabric building is there's already a procurement process in place. They sold the salt sheds to half the counties in southern Minnesota, so it doesn't have to go a request for proposal. He's got an actual state procurement bid process in place. So he said getting FEMA approval and that stuff is probably pretty simple. As long as they approve the project purpose in general, they'll be able to get the building itself approved.
So now, if the city puts up a, tension structure like that, does that open us up in anywhere else for anybody else putting up, tension structure?
Andy, you wanna answer this question?
I was distracted. What was that again?
If the city puts up a tension structure, does that make us liable if somebody else in town would like to put their same type of facility up to use it as a building?
I don't know. I guess that would be the other thing, is what would be the zoning compliance. I don't know what.
Because at this time, I don't believe you can put, well, I know they don't fit residential zoning, but commercial,
So what is the golf course zone?
Oh, there's a good question.
you know, that's my only concern, because I'd like to see a tension structure put up instead of a bathroom, because you can't get them built anyhow.
I mean, I guess we could look into that and see what it's zoned. I don't know why it would have to be a zoning non-compliance. And I don't know what the park is zoned as far as what's
outdoor recreation, and that'd fall into there because it's an outdoor, seasonal use building.
So up on, up at the top, oh, the soccer fields, when you come in on the back road of New Ulm, they put a tension fabric building up there.
Yeah, that was a private sports facility.
You know, so
But I
is
don't
that
think,
any different?
I think it was considered a indoor arena or a gymnasium. So I don't know why, I guess I don't know. The only thing that it might not be compliant with would be the height requirement. Cause it's 28.5 feet tall. I don't know, I
Well,
guess
that goes back to a building like the lift station. I'm sure that didn't meet the height requirement either. This is on, I would like to do some more research with Patrick on this in regards to,
I think all we're really
seeing
looking
what's
for is
correct.
some sort of agreement, this would be the, if we can, you know, get all the numbers together and make sure that it falls within the $140,000 allocation, this would be, yeah, some, similar to that, but we're not quite sure if we'd get solid end walls in it yet, for that price. I think the bigger thing we're looking for is just that this is the path we wanna go down so that we can eliminate the other path and see
You
that
know-
we can do it for 140, and then we'll bring numbers to the actual.
The shade sheds work nice along the, playground and stuff down at the park, but the rest of the park isn't really any place to put.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, I don't know exactly where, I mean, I'm sure you could force them in somewhere, but I don't know where it makes a ton of sense to add more.
well, let's rewind on this. You know, the tan shelter is getting to a point that it is in repairs or else we go away from it. So if we were to do this structure at the golf course, we're providing another location, but we also are providing bathrooms, and bathrooms that are built to the floodplain level right there. Versus we'll never have bathrooms down by the tan shelter again, and that's why we have these FEMA funds. But the
Right.
problem is the FEMA funds were not enough to actually bore in a line all the way to the tan shelter. And we can't redo the septic over there because we can't, disturb the ground over there. So if you look at it in a different perspective, we're giving them another shelter to utilize for their functions, but we're also providing bathrooms there too.
Right,
Yeah.
and I don't
You just keep
disagree
doing
with,
Porta potties at the Tancer shelter.
And that's what we have right now.
That's what you'll
That's
always,
not gonna change.
that's what you'll always have moving
We'll always
forward.
have that down there.
Yeah.
but then what had happened eventually, Dave, is because the floor
Get rid
keeps,
of the shelter, tan shelter, no.
Oh.
But
the
There's
floor
like that,
keeps
no problem.
coming up farther, and it's gonna get to the point where we're gonna deem it unusable.
Being
And
undermined
this
by-
would be a secondary,
That's my point. This is a solution to that, because there's gonna come a point where the tan shelter is gonna be unserviceable.
it's not gonna be usable at all
It's gonna be
anymore.
unusable. It's gonna be condemned. And this provides an option.
Because you can't do anything with the ground underneath it because of all the unknowns. It's just gonna be cleaned up and it'll be grass area.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I could see is that at one time being replaced with a shade structure, maybe a larger one, and picnic tables or whatever, but it's nothing as elaborate as the existing tan shelter. And probably nothing with enclosement, just due to the fact that it is so close. Unless, of course, you know, it's proven that we can do a flood mitigation system and actually reinvest in that, you know, lower portion of the park.
But to your point, we're talking 5 years from now, before we
Oh.
even have that conversation. And this is something we can do now with money we have to spend now.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know. Cody, you got any concerns? Dave?
Did you hear that?
Well,
Might as well get numbers together and see.
yeah, we'll
what
track
comes
down all the numbers and.
I guess I'm not as worried about the zoning issue.
Yeah.
Are you worried about a precedential issue, like setting a precedent?
Well,
to somebody?
residential, they don't fit at all.
Right, the
Yeah, but that's
residential.
completely different.
Yeah, and
I think at that point, you have to, you know, anybody who's gonna do that, even on a commercial property, is gonna have to come to the, you know. to
And
the
even if we
zoning
had to
commission.
walk through the, you know, workings of getting our own variance
Yeah.
to grant it, I think there's still probably enough background there to say, yes, this was a different situation than somebody wanting to put up a massive.
It's very different. It's a recreational area,
Fair.
it's city, it's
Yeah.
Gotta be
municipal.
open to the public versus private, this is
Right.
right, absolutely.
Better statement,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, don't worry.
So Andy, to get a better number on some of the components that have to go into this project, we do have the concrete RFP coming up that we will be discussing. Is that something that we could possibly put that concrete work on and get a bid for that?
Yeah, I think it'd be possible if you want, otherwise I can try to track down an independent bid, but if you're gonna be pouring in town, we could maybe add it as an option if it's, you know, something that we wanna do. The other thing is if we wanted to add it as an option onto the government center, paving, if we decide to go with asphalt or get those numbers, we could look in both directions. I kinda called around and looked into, like sports flooring tile for inside over asphalt, and I think it'll just end up being too expensive. I think we could probably carpet it with carpeting we can just roll up for, I don't know, a third of the price of that, so. All those things are kinda out there yet. I did reach out and see if patio pavers or anything along, even the rubber patio pavers or anything along that lines would make sense, and it doesn't really seem that way. My guess is for cost effectiveness, it'll be concrete or asphalt with maybe, you know, a bunch of rolls of indoor-outdoor carpet that we can roll up and stash in the green shed during the winter if we need to.
Or not, and
Or
the
not.
concrete and the asphalt's good enough.
Maybe, yeah, yep.
I think with the work that would have to be done, you'd almost have to have your own separate RFP for it, wouldn't you?
For what?
For down there.
Maybe, it'd
You gotta
be,
do dirt work, you gotta,
yeah, he
you
said.
can't just go down and throw it
Well,
down.
he said that there was a bunch of options actually for foundation if we want. There would be, thickened edge floating slab, Usano tubes, and it's got, the end ones, then 8 foot in, and then every 16 on center in between that, 16 foot on center, so it ends up being like, I think it was 18 or 22 Sano tube, and then we could choose to do whatever inside there after the fact. Or we could do actual, concrete block, like they kinda do for the bunkers already, with a large poured block. If we wanted to do a row of those and attach them directly to that, we could do that too. So, all those things, except for the thickened edge slab, could be done after the fact. And they'll be able to pave directly up to the block. They'll be
Yeah, I'm
able
just
to-
saying, cause Chris, you were talking about putting it in with this on the Main Street, is that what I was getting from you?
Oh, it would be another bid if you wanted to get a concrete bid on that project. I would add it as another bid line
As a
item.
bid option.
Mhm. But I would have to have the specifications in regards to
And I
putting
could
it
get
into
those
that.
if we wanted to add it as an option, I mean, as a.
That or I can create its own.
Let's just create our own,
Yeah,
and
I'd
that way
rather
it
see
keeps
that.
the two projects separate.
But with that being said, it would be nice to send it out with this other one.
Yep, and I can get the specs on what it would look like, and we can see what kind of prices come back.
So then, if you guys are all in agreement, then we would take, another line item for the concrete RFP and also to do the tension fabric building.
5 and 6 or 5?
5.
And then, I don't know how we wanna approach it, I think we'd be able to do it two separate ways. I can reach out to the contact I have selling the building, the, retailer, that's Greystone Construction out of Savage or Shakopee, and we can see if they want to.
Come down and present their building?
They'll definitely do that, but we can see if they want to do the concrete and
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Building.
and the
Make it
electrical
part of the whole one big project.
as part of the project
Could be,
themselves
yep.
and be the general for the whole thing, or if we wanna split it up too, and I can have that conversation with
Well,
them tomorrow.
It'd be good to know if they can,
Then do you want me to back out on this approval for an RFP for concrete?
Yeah, I think we should hold off until you get.
Well, the other thing is we don't have to accept it, I don't know. I mean,
Just hold on, we can always.
Yep, we can always
Alright,
put that in.
then we're crossing it off.
That would be, because if they could do the whole thing as one project, that would be ideal.
Does anybody want them to come down and present their building to us?
I can talk to him tomorrow or whatever too and see if he'll make a presentation for, he wanted to come down and do a site, but I wanted to make sure that
If
this
he's-
is the direction we're going.
If he was willing to make the trip, I think that would be a good thing, especially from an open communications perspective, because then others could see what it is exactly we're trying to do and where.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a good question. Where are you putting it?
So this would be between, well, basically where the event tent has
So
been
where
going
they put
up.
the tent, that's your, but
Kinda
you're
right in
looking
that
at
it-
putting a more permanent structure.
Right there, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
We're done with that, topic then?
Okay.
So then we're gonna move on to Ben.
The 2022 seal coat bid. So right now Ben received one quote, and the one quote that was received was from Pearson Brothers, and the bid amount was for $117,609.35 for 25,877 square yards. This year per yard came in at $155. I also put, what the per square yard was for the last how many years. Obviously, it fluctuates. Our 22 budget is at 95,000. To stay within budget, we can only do 61,290 square yards. So we'll have to take out 14,587 square yards to stay within budget. Unless you guys choose to accept the bid and do everything.
And what would we take out if we had to remove?
Well, I think the most sense would be just, I think Oliver Review Heights. I think that would get us under budget. I punched the numbers real quick before I showed it to Chris, I think that would get us.
And that's probably the one that doesn't need it the, most at this time. Well, they all need it, but.
That development needs attention.
Yeah.
It needs something, but.
If we were to go for the full bid, is there a way to make that happen?
I mean, you're cutting in almost over $20-some thousand into his budget, so, I mean.
And that full one, was it 117, Chris?
Yeah,
So you can take 6 off of that for post sweeping, so it'd be 111, something like that.
okay.
They didn't. I
They
don't know
didn't
why
take that
They
out?
didn't add that in there, but I asked them in an email, it's like 3 cents a yard.
Yes, normally they had another line,
Yeah.
and,
I don't
they
know why
just
they
added
didn't
it
put
all
But
together.
I have an email with the price in
Okay.
there.
So the two questions additional if I can, first is, why do we only get one bid?
Cause nobody else bids.
They just don't wanna do it.
There's nobody else out there that has any time to come to a small,
Okay.
How many years
That-
has, Pearson's been doing it for years,
It's been since before
yeah.
I submit a bid to the 3 biggest people in the state, M&R, Allied, Pearson's. And every year I've been doing this, Pearson's is the only one that's ever given me a bid back.
Well, that makes sense. Then my second.
You can go to other companies, but they turn right around and give those numbers to one of those 3 companies.
Then my second other question would be is, you're the head of the street department, what do you think we should do?
My question then would be in Riverview Heights, I don't know if everybody's driven around up there, but it definitely does need
Oh, that's terrible.
some
Well,
attention.
and I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at is,
If you don't spend it on seal coat, I'm gonna need to hire somebody to do some crack sealing.
Well, and so that is a better way to thank you, that's a better way to state my question. The reason I asked it that way is because you see this more than we do. I don't necessarily always notice what you have to notice every day.
Right.
And so that's why I asked that question that way, and that's why if there's a way to make this happen, I hate to say it, but I think we kinda gotta do it.
But my other.
Do it now or we can do it later.
My other question is it make the most sense when there's construction going up there for the,
That's a
hopefully
good-
2
that
or
is a
3
good
houses this year? Big
Right,
trucks
it's hard
there.
on that, yep,
Big
absolutely.
equipment, I mean, would it make sense to seal or crack fill it instead? Get an estimate on crack filling it instead and seal coat it next year, make sure
Until
it's
they're done.
top of the list
I
next
bet
year?
it's a wash.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be.
It's gonna be a wash,
Probably.
right?
I don't know.
And so,
With the oil prices there, the way they are now, it's gonna be, any way we go, it's gonna be.
Crack sealing's gonna cost them just about as much as the, you
So
know,
I could, the cheapest thing I can get away with on crack sealing is, if the county has time, we'll go do it and do all the prep work, and they'll come in and crack fill with their equipment, cause we don't have any of that equipment.
Yeah.
We've done that before, and that's, we basically just pay for their man hours and cost of material,
and that's if they have time.
if they have time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more your personal preference, I guess, as far as if you think it can wait a year or you want to take it, you know, out of your, cause you're the one managing the budget too, I guess.
well,
I-
but,
No, is that a lot, that's locked in because of the oil price, well, the oil goes down between now and the time they do it.
As far as I know, that price is that price, so.
That price is the one they'll honor for the summer.
Yeah, and if oil prices go up, they're gonna honor it.
it's not gonna, yeah.
So if it get, it's catch 22, it goes down, they make more money, it goes up, they lose more money.
They're buying it, they're basically already ordering it.
They already ordered their oil allotment
Yeah.
for the summer.
They've contracted.
Yep.
I mean, I guess I don't have any, I just know for a fact that, especially with skid steers and, you know, excavators and
Mhm, yeah, absolutely.
loading and offloading, I don't know that you're gonna get the, and maybe it'll be post-construction up there anyway, but
I don't know.
I think it's in bad enough shape where a guy could, you know, set aside funds and try to crack fill and seal coat it all and, or at least recoup it as much as possible. Cause it's not just, you know, I mean, there's lateral cracking and alligator crack, I mean, there's some stuff going on up there. But, is it gonna be way worse after a year or two? Maybe, especially with everything driving on it, I don't know. I guess I'm fine with any direction that you wanna go as street manager, if you wanna spend that extra to do it all, I'd be fine with that too.
Well, I'd like to stay under budget, and then see if I can sneak in the crack treatments under my asphalt budget.
Yeah, if that's how you wanna.
And then try to get it in next year on seal coat.
Yeah, I just moved to the top of the list for next year for seal coat. I mean, I don't know what's. I don't know. They just sold one, I think, in New Ulm, they got a brand new one. Versapactor? Yeah, I don't know. That's not even the thing though, it's the oil and the.
Yeah.
Everything
Toilet
else.
paper.
You gotta
What's
try
that?
to find too.
Toilet paper.
Yeah, it's the toilet paper, that's.
Nobody wants the sale
Wow.
No, I'll leave it to your discretion, I guess I have no problems with however you wanna proceed up there, but I've driven through, when I drove through there looking at the water tower the other day, I was like, the street is.
Well, we've already had to fix catch basins up there.
Yeah.
We've had to drop manholes, we've had to shit some.
And there's probably more that needs to be adjusted and done there, cause it's, but then again, it's,
20 years old.
It's 20 years old.
is that all?
But it's the new subdivision.
Yeah,
Always
it's,
be the
it's
new
always the new,
subdivision.
it's always, until it's not, until there's another one, it's not the new subdivision.
Yeah, I would encourage the council, if you don't, I mean, as much patrol time as we spend on the streets, and this is nothing against Ben, I mean, he's working with the budget he has, but if you haven't driven around the streets in town, you know, take a look at him after the thaw here and see what he has to work with. It's a nightmare.
To your point, the part that kills me, and this is the part I feel bad about, is I run that as part of my loop every day. That's the 5-mile loop. I go through, and I haven't noticed, so it shows my lack of expertise, and I'll pay more attention going forward.
So we'll go for a ride, I'm on all night.
There you go. Yeah, you're welcome to ride anytime. He'll show you all the potholes.
So if I hear what you're saying, Ben, you wanna keep it under budget, you think we can buy ourselves a year. Is that the way you wanna go?
I prefer to stay under budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, it looks like we need a new budget number for next year.
That's part two of this conversation.
Well,
That's
that
not-
would be the next thing is to maybe adjust it accordingly, knowing that we have to take on
There
that
you
next
go. We adjust the
year.
budget for next year. You
It's
know,
been the same, it's been the same number for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
long
always
time.
been like
Long time.
25 grand.
Yeah, and some years we're way under.
But the part that concerns me is when we say things like, well, we can get by, or it is good enough, anytime I hear that phrase, I just wanna roll my eyes, cause that's not good enough anymore. We live in a city like this, which is like the best around. That, good enough shouldn't be good enough anymore.
Well, when I go down that path, we could save that money and start repaving roads. I mean, that's really where we should be spending money. The roads need to be repaved, not just patched, not just seal coated.
So then
But
what
we don't have the money for that, so.
But what I would submit for your consideration is, what would that plan look like? And as the expert, I would ask you, what do you think that plan looks like? Put that number together, and then let us try and figure it out, because until we know what we're trying to get after, we're never gonna get there.
But when the problem is when you start doing that, you start talking curb and gutter, underground, all that stuff. And I
Yeah.
think Chris is well on our way with that plan. So, I mean,
Okay.
that's,
It's the capital improvement plan.
this is strictly a Band-Aid.
Yep.
And if you're gonna talk about curb and gutter, then you might as well talk about widening the street out a little bit too, so you can make it more passable for today's size vehicles and
It's just
things like
that-
that. It never ends, right?
I prefer standard measure. My opinion is standard measure.
Okay.
It's all about Cody.
Should we move on
We'll just say
to,
about big trucks, buddy.
Oh,
thanks, Ben.
thanks, Billy.
Let's move on to,
You need to, sorry, Ben, do you need to say anything about that concrete work on Main Street? That's the next thing.
Oh, I thought we were gonna push that up.
No,
No, we'll
the,
just push off our portion
our portion
down
will,
the park.
towards down at the park,
No,
but
other than the addition to, is this corner over here? That,
that one by the Veterans Park.
right over here?
Yep.
I add that on there. I don't know if it's a need. I just thought that area needs work.
Please, yeah, we'll have everybody take a look at it.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's been a concern, I guess.
Okay.
You gotta go to the wall.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
big enough I can trip in.
Lines of copper.
What's that, which that wasn't to do with you, that was.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, what is that whole
So
deal
when's
with
that
that
done?
concrete stuff? You're doing all new corners?
Okay, so we'll go to the concrete work on Main Street and the well house number 2. So in your packet,
The well
it
house.
was broken down. I had the little dots on all the places. Okay, so the first dot is for that bituminous patch right on in front of the chamber office. That has to be taken out and a concrete has to be put back in. That was
Oh,
from
yeah.
that water leak.
Yep.
So we have to put it back to normal.
I'm talking about all the yellow dots
Yep.
here. That's all I'm,
So, yep, so we do it, and then we send the bill to the county, and county reimburses us for it. Same goes for all the curbs on, that I'm showing on here. If you walk down Main Street, you're gonna notice there's curbs that have big chunks out of them. And we've had, an incident where somebody has gone down and caught that chunk that's out of the curb and almost fallen down and stuff. So we are asking that all the curbs be patched in or replaced on Main Street.
they wanna cut it out and take 2 feet off of it?
They could take it out, all depending.
No, he's not getting what he's putting on. No.
Don't even start.
So yes, well, this would be to fix all of the chunks that are out of the curbs, to replace them.
It's
So we
good
have-
timing too, because my dad's not driving anymore, so it's probably gonna be stay repaired.
But you know what, because there's one by Christensen's, there's one by the theater, they're
The
all
one by
over.
the theater was one I was
2
joking
feet.
about.
there's
Yeah.
one
2
out in
feet.
front of Open Faith, there's one in
Yeah.
front of Plaza.
Yep.
The one right in front of the Veterans where the handicap ramp is probably a gap 4 to 6 inches wide, the curbs,
So Ben has gone through and marked everything and that is all listed. And then the last part of the RFP is we added this on, or 2 more parts, I'm sorry. The concrete work in front of Veterans Park. And maybe you wanna elaborate on that. You said it was,
it's pulled away from the sidewalk, and what's the gap, Cody, that much? Plus the side on your side of the street too is, the curb is moved away from the sidewalk substantially, and it's big enough that you can't get up the wheelchair ramp.
So you need it on your side of the road too?
I don't know, I don't think so. Sounds like it though.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time looking down so I don't fall over, I'm getting
I
old
walk
now.
that all the time, and I gotta notice stuff. Wow.
Well, one of the parts is for, in front of Veterans Park, to take a look at that.
Correct.
My question would be, and it doesn't necessarily even pertain to this repair,
Mhm.
but as part of that safe school study, are they talking about ADA compliant crosswalks from the entire route?
We haven't actually sat down with Region 9 yet.
But I would
Region
assume
9.
that is a given.
But I would imagine the ADA compliant,
Yeah.
but, so if that is the case, then if we do any repairs on that corner, we should look at what needs to be
Yeah.
addressed right away.
That's what I would probably recommend, is if they're gonna be doing a partial repair on those, route corners anyway,
Yep,
they might as well
Fix 'em
price it
right.
for ADA compliance, so that there doesn't have to be done later.
okay.
Unless you're thinking that that entire bill is gonna be picked up by somebody else.
No,
And then I might eliminate them.
there's a cost share to the city.
From our bill this year.
No, this
Yeah.
year is basically the statistical studies and understanding where we need to do it, but going forward though, Andy, it wouldn't be a bad idea to make sure that whatever repairs we're doing is the right way.
Well, I'm just thinking that either way, if it's on that safe route, if we are gonna fix it this year, let's complete it to an ADA compliant level.
Okay,
Completely agree with that.
If we're not gonna, if we're thinking that it's gonna be cost share or something later, then maybe we want to eliminate them from that list for this year.
Mhm.
If we know it's gonna get done. I don't know what the game plan is there. Is it next year or is it?
and like I said,
Don't know yet.
this
Don't know, 'cause the
year
study's
is,
still going.
the
Yeah,
study
just
is
fix
supposed to
it.
take place.
Fix it to compliance unless it's gonna, and it could be,
Well, and so I would also tell you from another job is if you do it right and you do it in ADA compliance, there's times you can go back
Yeah.
And be
for that.
reimbursed.
yeah.
So if we're gonna do it, I think we gotta do it right.
Well, if you have a veterans park, it should be ADA
No, I
compliant.
don't disagree with that.
Just as,
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so the last thing on the concrete RFP is we threw in was well house number 2. Well house number 2 is the one by the water tower. They had.
Which water tower?
the old
The
one,
by the high school.
by the school.
So that little building down there.
Okay.
Okay, so in that building was a filter, and that filter was taken out. And since we have to heat those buildings because of the pipes that come in there, and obviously it's a well house, we converted it into a garage. So we actually cut a garage door opening out, and so we need to take out the existing concrete because it's pretty bad and extend it. So there's already a curb cut there, right, John? There has to be a curb cut, and I know that was already approved. So we are looking at concreting all of that in front of well house number 2 for drive up. So that's what's in there, and tonight, on tonight's, agenda, I'm asking for the approval to go ahead and advertise that.
Okay,
As an option of that first, is separate RFP or is the option of that first concrete RFP?
For the first RFP. Yeah, the only one that would be separate is what we're doing with the golf course.
Okay.
Yeah, all of those are
All of that's-
together.
they're all-
okay, next would be the golf course RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you know what,
Groundskeeper.
Andy, the one thing that I did not do, Andy sent me, a paragraph that I was supposed to change out, and that was actually the purpose of the proposal. That was the only change that I got for the RFP. Otherwise, any other changes for the RFP or for the contract in general, for this groundskeeper?
And we wanna act on that yet tonight then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're almost to May.
Going up to the,
Gotta go.
expenses, Chris, for that Allen Bodie,
Yeah.
Arlen Bodie, whatever, that 6,000.
Yes,
Was that just for sharpening?
There was a couple other things in there, some minor repairs and things, but.
But what was the majority of it?
Sharpening.
Okay.
Any idea what that bill was last year?
Until we run upstairs and check it out, we can get that stuff for you.
The only reason I ask is if we move, I mean, this year we've gotta do what we gotta do, but moving forward, if we had somebody that could do that in-house, I mean, that's $6,000.
I know.
For sharpening blades.
To sharpen the reels.
I mean, it's real, it's not
Yeah,
like you
they-
just take a grinder and sharpen them, but I mean, yeah.
Okay, so
It's
that,
like the total.
that first paragraph, that purpose of proposal, Andy sent me, the city is seeking a golf course superintendent to manage the care of the golf course and clubhouse grounds. This position will be a daily working superintendent from April to November and be expected to mow, trim trees, aerate, maintain sprinkling and drainage systems, monitor and report water usage, maintain the greens, facilitate the purchase and application of all chemicals, facilitate the maintenance and needs records of the equipment and other jobs as needed. This position also includes management and scheduling of seasonal groundkeeping employees while working within the confines for the annual golf course budget and allocated funding.
So to be clear, we're not just asking for a manager, we're asking for a groundskeeper. Okay.
But, okay. And maybe I missed it.
You
but-
sent that out yesterday, right? Or this
Last
morning?
week.
That
Last
was
week,
revised.
but there's some added
Additional, yeah.
additional in that first paragraph up there.
Now, is that they're expected to be there Monday through Friday, at least?
But I'm gonna say this one more time. Can you actually put that on a contract employee?
Well, if they're there to oversee the employees of our employees
Then
that
should
work
we
Monday
have
through
an,
Friday.
Isn't that implied?
but shouldn't we have an employee then?
Tell them how to do the job, not what to do. Tell them what to do, not how to do the job. What's your concern about the hours?
That we're not getting our money's worth. I go down there on opening day of the golf course this last week,
It's open?
and there's no groundskeeper. The two employees that were down there were just sitting there. What are you guys doing? Well, it was cold, it was a little frosty out this morning, hopefully we're gonna do something. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Get your ass on a lawnmower and pick some stuff up. I don't get it. It pisses me off every time I go down there.
So I get that, and I understand what you're going with that. Is there another way to get after that?
I don't know, we've been trying to fix this for
Instead
4
of,
years
is
now,
a
we
level of
haven't figured it
standard, you
out.
know? I don't care if you work 1 hour a week, if the golf course looks pristine. That's an exaggeration, but you see my point?
But, yeah.
Did you
okay.
tell them to get moving?
Yeah, but I don't know if it worked.
And they understand.
I mean,
they
who's their
understand.
boss?
so
Who's
the
their
re-
boss?
Ultimately, you and
Who is
I
it?
and Andy
I understand
and
that, but
Glenn
who is supposed to be
and
there
Mike
every
Carr.
day, Monday through
So-
Friday, to tell them what to
I'm
do?
with you on that, but my concern is this, is that you could be there from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and not do anything.
I understand that.
So how do you get
But
after what
in
we're
this,
trying to accomplish?
in this, we're telling them that they are in charge of our employees, correct? That's how it states.
There you go. Does,
So,
But Cody, did you not see the other contract that I sent out to you? That's the last contract that he signed.
okay,
So we are stating some expectations in this one that are in black and white versus what the last
Yeah,
contract was.
the 18.
and that's
one.
what I'm wondering, if that.
The 18 one was pretty vague,
You know
it
what?
just said
There's a
you had
chan-
to
There's a
read.
chance that somebody else does this and he just says, ah. Then we got nobody. I'm not being
I'm
what do you
negative.
have when nobody's there?
I'm totally with you on
You,
what you're trying to
me,
get
and
at.
Andy and Glenn,
I'm
I
just
guess
not-
we'll all run down and make sure, I can
Are
stop
you
by.
getting what I'm saying? Who do
No.
we have when he's not there? If he doesn't
Completely
show up,
understand
who
what
do
you're
we have?
saying.
James.
Is there a better way to get after this? That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, but we have to quit with the, well, we gotta do it now because it's too late, we gotta do it this year. We've
Yeah.
done that for 4 years too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We have,
Understood.
every year.
Every fall, we said, yep, we're gonna nip this in the bud, we're gonna
Yeah,
put it out for
here
our
comes
we're
May.
gonna do this, and all of a sudden, it's March, and we're like, well, it's too late to do it this
It
year.
sounds to me like the language we've got now
It's pretty
captures
black
what we're
and
trying to
white.
do.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it closes some gaps, and maybe not all of them, but at least some of the gaps we've had in the past.
But do we want a contract employee or do we want an
Well,
employee?
again, we're too far in the year, we have to do this year.
Contract employee. That's what we got now, right?
I think you want a contract employee until you find out that you don't have one anymore or don't have a viable option anymore.
So we're gonna put this in the paper for,
No, this is actually being.
This RFP is for
His
the next
contract.
cycle,
Yes.
but the
But it's-
contract is for this year.
Yes, it's being written for two purposes. One, a contract this year,
Okay.
and number two, for you guys to prepare yourself for fall, like you guys are saying. We talk about this all the time. You are prepared. If you need to do any
You're ready.
revisions, it's ready to rock and roll.
I don't know, again, I'm the new guy, but it seems like we're a step closer to fixing the problem.
yes, I think we are too.
But Cody, you know this better than I
And
do.
that's already an agenda item on my, right?
Yeah, it is.
So my question is,
I guess,
No,
has
it's
Carl,
not.
has Carl
You wanna
seen,
accept it tonight.
I mean, I just think we're getting to that point, we're paying $40,000 for a contract employee plus another 6
30.
for reels to
Contract.
sharpen.
And other maintenance.
And for what? Yeah, I
How
get
much
you.
does it cost to just have an employee
For 3 months of the
for
year?
the whole park system and sit and be done with it, and we don't have to farm all this stuff out?
To have an employee to do all of that, and you're up into the 50s, 60s again? You're
No,
back to where
that's
you were
what-
before?
that's in salary without anything else.
So,
That's probably an $80,000 employee, maybe
with
more.
benefits and everything.
Mm.
Yeah, all
With
in,
load.
80 to 90. Maybe more by next year.
Yeah.
Okay, anyhow,
I
it's,
don't
Do you,
disagree.
do you guys
I
wanna
don't-
add
I
it
do
as
not
an
disagree.
agenda item?
The truth of the matter is, we're at the 4th year.
do we
Come
wanna,
around the road again, but we have a way better contract.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
My
definitely.
question,
gotta go.
Chris, is has Carl seen the contract and did he
No.
agree to sign it?
No, you guys are trying to, you're
Yes.
supposed to be making changes right now and telling me how you want to go forward.
Okay.
So
can
I
we-
can
so
make
it-
that meeting.
Is that the agenda item?
If you want to accept this as it is written, tonight we will
Yes.
add it as an
Okay.
agenda
Yes.
item.
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Okay,
You gotta
Thanks,
close that
Jim.
other, you gotta close the hearing yet too.
okay.
Oh, we got,
Public hearing on the.
yep, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I got a motion,
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried, do I have a
Motion to
motion
close the
to
workshop.
close the workshop?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second,
I'll second.
all in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Now